Hello and welcome to another review on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles TMNT The Lost Ronin Lost Years issue number 4. And yeah, this issue was a pretty big disappointment. Now the reason why I feel as though that this issue was a pretty big disappointment was the fact that this issue just more or less repeated some of the stuff that already happened earlier in this like comic series, as well as also some of the stuff happened in the Lost Ronin stuff, and didn't really feel as though they added too much new to this issue, except from like some of the stuff at the beginning and some of the stuff at the end. But overall, it's just like feels as though they're just more or less like repeating some of the stuff and just like trying to like hone in the fact that like you're supposed to be all sad and stuff like that. And yes, it is sad, but I feel as though like we already know what's already happened, so we don't need to keep repeating it over and over again. So yeah. Okay, so first start off with the Future Turtles, and this bit is again like really interesting. It's also something which really annoyed me as well, just because like with the last few issues, they do something really interesting with these new turtles, only for about like 5 pages, and then they never really expand upon it or do anything else with it. It's just there for like 5 pages, and then they move on as if nothing's really happened. And it feels to you like the Future Turtles stuff, which again I'm repeating over and over again, is the fact that this bit is the most important bit which I'm really interested in, and they only do it for what, like 5 pages, which is really disappointing, but it is somewhat interesting with what they do in these 5 pages. Okay, so with the new turtles, we do get to see them actually training, and I must admit this bit is really interesting, as we do get to see them do their own unique little special things. And we do get to see Yi, she's trying to break in the door, and do find that to be really interesting, really great, really giving off the vibes of Donatello. And do like the tech which she does use, which is like holograms and stuff like that, pretty cool. We do get to see Moja and Odin take down 2 foot ninjas, which I must admit again is pretty cool and stuff like that. And then we do get to see Uno, who does get a little bit annoyed by this, but basically all turtles are going really slow, so he just breaks in through a door. And that's when Casey Marie Jones comes in and shoots them all with a paint gun, and that's pretty much it where we do leave off for this story. And then she does go in to tell Uno about the time when she more or less disobeyed Mikey, and that's pretty much where we do leave off with this story. And again, I feel as though like there's so much they could do with these future turtles, with story and stuff like that, and yet they're wasting it with just stuff like this. And I do think that like, all these lessons which Turtles are learning separately will be something which they do explore and expand upon in The Lost Ronin 2, but I feel as though like they're wasting this time, and it feels as though like we're like more or less like focusing on the Mikey stuff way more than the new Turtles, which I think should be the other way around, but yeah. So then, speaking of Mikey, this is probably the bit where I have to say it gets really annoying, just because you do get to see Mikey, he's captured and he's going around the world, and he's more or less in like a fighting tournament, which is pretty cool, and for a few different reasons. And the main reason why I do like this little bit here is just because we do get to see Abigail Finn has finally returned after what, like nearly 20 years. She's finally come back into the TMNT world after appearing in that one monster episode in the 2003 show. She's finally back in the comics, and it is amazing. She references Toe Titan, calling Mikey it. It is just amazing. I can't believe I did a lot of stuff like this. It was just truly great and amazing. Oh my god, wow. Yeah, to be honest, I don't have anything really bad to say about it. It's just amazing to see like those characters come back, and oh god, I love it so much. But with that being said, I do feel still that this bit is where things do go downhill, just because as Mikey is travelling to like the locations, he does more or less go over like events that's already happened. Just like how he lost all his brothers, his friends, his family and stuff like that, how he was a bad person, how he feels sorry for himself and stuff like that. And again, I feel as though like this bit here, I would not really have too much of a problem with it if only we'd not really spent the last 3 issues more or less like developing this story, and also with the last Ronin story we even developed some of this stuff as well. So it feels though like there's repeating certain stuff, I just didn't really feel like worth it, and just feels though that just repeating it just because they didn't have enough time to like span out like other stories and stuff like that. But I do think that maybe if they're going to go down this route of more or less telling the whole story in 1 issue, or like 2 issues really, but I do think that this whole story could have worked if it didn't have the other 3 issues. And I do think that if this issue was like a one-shot type thing, then I do think that this type of story could have worked. But I just think that because we already had the more or less like knowledge about everything that's happened over the past few months really, it just feels so that this bit was just so like unimpactful and stuff like that. So then for the majority of the next bit, we do get to see Mikey talking to a human and talking about their past, basically everything that they've done before, what we're going to do, their future and stuff like that. And to be honest, this bit here is quite cool just to see Mikey interacting with other people, and yeah. But then we do get to see Mikey's also in this cage with like loads of other mutants, and I think that this bit here is not necessarily a bad thing. I do think it definitely opens up this universe to more or less like open up like to new threats and stuff like that. But also feels that because it's such a big thing for like so many mutants in this universe, I just so many questions about it and stuff like that, because normally with turtles, they're normally like the main focus and stuff like that, and they're the only mutants, but now that I know that like there's so many other mutants, I have so many questions and I doubt we're ever going to get answers to, but I'm just like wondering those sort of things, and it feels to do like this little bit here could have been cool if Mikey was maybe the only mutant or something like that, but I think that because there's so many other mutants, it really like makes him feel like less special in this universe, but I do think it's cool that I'll like really expand upon this universe. Now during this tournament thing, we do get to see Mikey go off and kill loads of people, and then he does go into the final match where he does have to fight his best friend, and this bit here was pretty interesting, as we do get to see the man more or less like attacks Abigail Finn, and then Abigail Finn blows the man's head off, which is something which I was not expecting, and was just, yeah, I was quite surprised they even put that into this book, because how, like, I wouldn't say, I'm not going to say it's graphic, but at the same time, it's just not something you should expect to see from Turtles, which I think worked really well, and it's just one of these things that feels through like this bit here was like pretty cool for what it is, but also at the same time feels through that if they were to expand upon this bit a lot more, then this bit could have been a lot cooler, a lot better, and maybe even been a little bit more impactful for certain bits. But overall, this bit here was pretty cool nonetheless, and I thought it was decent. Now, overall, this issue was a pretty big disappointment. I was somewhat expecting this issue to more or less set things up for the next issue, maybe have Deathworm come into this one, and maybe even speed up the story as well. I feel so about the story of Mikey being trapped in a cage and going around the, well, more or less fight other people and stuff like that. That's a pretty cool and interesting concept, I feel so, but at the same time, I feel so that with the way that I went around it in this issue, it didn't really have too much of an impact, I would say, just because of how little time we actually got spent with this stuff, which is a real disappointment because I feel so that this stuff would have been really cool to see and really like amazing to really expand upon. But yeah, and like I've already said before, I do feel so like certain stuff which they were repeating over and over again, with how Mikey's feeling sad for everyone that's died and stuff like that. It just didn't really have much of an impact on me, and I feel as though that the main reason for this was just because when I was reading it the first time, I had more of an emotional impact on me, but now just reading it over and over again, it's not really had that much of an impact. It's just like, oh my god, can we move on to something else? And I feel as though that with the next issue, they do have a lot to really set up in terms of Deathworm and actually having an emotional connection with the battle and stuff like that. And I feel as though that the next issue is just going to be really disappointing, but at the same time, I want to look forward to it and stuff like that. So yeah, overall I think that this issue was a pretty big disappointment, but I'm still looking forward to see how they wrap things up for the next issue. But yeah, that's gonna be it for today guys. If you do some, please share, let's just grab on stuff. Goodbye, yo, bye.